You are now tuned in to Tear Down and Rebuild. Welcome to the tar pit. Alrighty, people, we're here again for some morning motivation. And I know you're wondering why all of a sudden I'm pausing like that, but it's because I was trying to get a message sent out really quick before I get started. So good morning. Grand rising to all of you, and welcome to your morning motivation. Now, this is kind of a two-parter. It's going to almost turn into a full-blown podcast because of something that happened yesterday evening. But first, let's focus on why we're here. And that is the message of believing in yourself. You get up every morning and tell yourself that you can do this. There are some mornings where it's hard to believe that. But you say it anyway. And you believe in it. And you keep saying it until you believe in it. Because sometimes you say it and you don't quite believe your own words. And your mouth is saying, I can do this, but the rest of you is saying, I'm over all of this. I want none of this. But if you keep telling yourself that you can, and you keep telling yourself that you can, and when that doubt creeps in, you push that back and say, nope, I got this. Eventually you will get to the point where not only will you believe it, but you will walk in it. And then you're unstoppable. When you can get up and say, work, I got that. House, I got that. Kids, I got that. My business, I got that. I can do all of this. That doesn't mean that all of a sudden you put an S on your chest and become a superhero. I'm not telling you to go out here and take on the world. Trust me, I've done that before. That's not fun. You get tired quick. But what I am saying is for the things that you really love, go out there and take on the world for that. Like, I absolutely love being creative. I love creating music. I love writing. I love doing this. And I never thought I would love, like, being heard. But I love this. And because I love this, there are days when I get up and I start to record and I'm like, I'm not doing this. I can't do this. I'm overdoing this. I have no clue what I'm going to talk about anyway. This is going to sound insane. I'm not doing this. But then I remember that, number one, I told you guys, my podcasts are like regular conversations with me. What you get on this podcast is what you would get if you were sitting in my face. I don't want it to be overly chopped up, edited. I just wanted it to be a regular conversation. You sit down, you talk to your homegirl about what's going on. One-sided, but just a conversation. Number two, I always said that if I ever started podcasting, I would not stop because I knew it was something that I would quit swiftly. Because as anybody knows, I don't like being photographed and I don't like the sound of my own voice. So podcasting is not the easiest thing for me. And now I'm working with a company that's asking me to add pictures and do certain things. And now there's just all kinds of outside of my element, if you will. But I keep telling myself that I can do it, and I keep getting up and doing it. And the more I get up and do it, I just noticed probably this morning that, I have more than 10 of these out. Which I'm like, wow, I've really done that. And for some people, it's like 10. You should have way more than that. Okay, well, I started slow and I kept stopping. But I have now been consistent with doing these. And That's the point I'm trying to make to all of you. It's not about starting and stopping. I think we've all done that. You start something that's like, I can't do this. And then you start again, I don't want to do this. And that starting and stopping, it happens. But at some point, you're going to start and you're not going to quit. And that's the place I'm trying to get everybody to, is start that thing and do not stop. Get Put yourself rather in a position of doing something that you love, not just something that brings you a paycheck. Because once you really put that energy into something you love, when that starts to turn a profit for you to where that's the only thing that you do, and when I say the only thing that you do, meaning you only do things that you love, not just 9 to 5, let me go and get this over with because I got bills. But when you are truly doing something that you love, that's no longer work. That's living. I'm out here and I'm doing the things that I love and I'm living my life. And I believe that's where everybody's trying to get to. Now, there are some people who, they're just 9 to 5 folks. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. There are people who they were just meant to have their 9 to 5. They were meant to have their jobs. There are just some people who really are just 9 to 5 folks. And it's not like the world doesn't need them. You need people who are 9 to 5 people. Because if you didn't have them, then what? Really stop and think about what would happen if everybody in the world decided, I want to go off and be an artist. I want to go off and be a painter. I want to go off and be a singer. And nobody wanted to just work at the grocery store. I know kids fill those positions, but there's not even that many of them. Like, there are people who really are just meant to have 9 to 5s. And that's cool, because I know some people who are very happy in their positions as cashiers. And a lot of folks like to say, that's not true. They can't be happy. It's a meager. No, I actually know someone who actually enjoys being a cashier. She loves meeting the people that come into the store. She genuinely loves her job. If that's the case, keep doing what you do, because you are most certainly needed. If this time has taught us nothing, is that, those cashiers and grocery store workers, they're actually essential to your everyday needs. So while you're looking down on them, those are people that we need them. But for those of you who were not meant to be in the 9 to 5, and there is something else that you want to do, your passion is somewhere else, even if you start with something small and do a little bit every single day to get you there. This morning motivation is my little bit to get me to where I'm trying to get to. As long as you get up and you try every single day, just a little bit, you will get there. You just have to tell yourself, I can do this, and believe. Now, the next thing we're going to move on to is not so positive, but I'm going to try to put a spin on it. We're going to see where it goes. Yesterday evening, I went to go check my messages. As I always tell all of you, the phone number that you see on my page, if you are actually following my business page, then you know what I'm talking about. Very few people actually look at my Facebook information to know that it's there as well. But on my Facebook business page, there is a phone number. That phone number is very real, people. I have a business line. That secondary line, that business line, that is my number. It's where if there are certain things that you want to hear on the podcast, you can make the request there. You're an artist who has music and you want it to be heard. I'm actually on a station, but there's a station being built around me right now. So we can play the music there. If your music is on Apple Music, let me know. I can get it blasted on a station that pulls music solely from artists who have music on Apple Music. That's what that is for. And I've also told people you can text me their text, because I don't answer phone calls. at all. Unless you're somebody I know, I will not pick up my phone. But you can text me there for that. You can also send me text messages if you're just having a rough time of it and you just want to send a message to somebody that will respond. Now, mind you, I get a lot of odd messages here and there on that line. Um, so I may not respond within, 5-10 minutes, but I pretty much respond to all my messages within, I would even say within a 12-hour time frame. And the only reason for that is because if I'm at work, I don't really stop and mess with my phone while I'm working. Now, with that being said, the one thing that I don't care for is people sending me, men sending me messages because they think it's going to get them a date or it's about to win them brownie points. Because understand this, if a message comes through that I think there is something wrong with, that message goes straight to the man who 9 times out of 10 will call and talk to you himself. And then you can explain to him why you were sending me things that you shouldn't have been sending. I've even had some messages that I've had to send over to my homies at the police station. And they reached out to some folks and found some people. I don't play games with things like that. And I will tell you why. I had somebody stalk me before. And I'm not talking about your average variety. Oh, he called me all the time. Oh, he loved me. No. I had somebody hiding in bushes and watching me to the point where they showed up at my job. And I used to work at a major medical center. And I worked in radiology. And of course, radiology ER is usually on like the lower level, not the basement, but like the ground floor of the hospital, because those are the main things that you need. And I typically always worked either early morning, I'm talking about 6 o'clock in the morning, or if they needed me to fill in at night, I would be there late at night. So an overnight shift, that's 11 to 7 a.m. And this individual would show up like clockwork to the point where he had to have been watching. He had to have known where I lived because he knew my schedule entirely too well. And it had gotten to the point where he even knew my lunch breaks. So he knew when I was going to be out in the hallway going to lunch, or when I was going to be going over to, like, sometimes on my lunch breaks, I would go and visit other departments and go get the homies and we would all go to lunch together or whatever. But he knew the ins and outs of my schedule that well, to the point where I had become friends with a group of cab drivers, because anybody who knows me from Ohio knows I used to take cabs to work every day. And the drivers would actually, on rotation, go past my house to make sure that nobody was messing around at my house, along with a friend of mine's brother, who they used to just drive by and make sure, because one of my daughters was home. Now, they were older, but still, older teenagers, and they're at the house and there's nobody else there, and there's some fool following me. And it all came to a head when he showed up in the hospital and attacked another person because he thought I was there and I wasn't. Somehow I think I got sick that night and I decided not to go to work, but he thought I was at work. And he scared a young lady who then had to turn around and call for security, and he had to be banned from my place of employment. And then my other coworkers had to start watching out. And now he's banned from the hospital.